that Sarah Palin could be president. And I think that's a really scary thing, because I don't know anything about her. I mean, did she really? I need to know if she really thinks dinosaurs were here 4,000 years ago. That's an important, I want to know that. I really do, because she's going to have the nuclear codes. You know, I want to know if she thinks dinosaurs were here 4,000 years ago, or if she banned books or tried to ban books. I mean, that's, you know, we can't have that.
Sarah Palin was elected the mayor of Wasilla in 1996 with the strong backing of her church, the Wasilla Assembly.
She was one of them.
Palin has since changed churches, but Assembly of God ministers are well known in Wasilla for taking strong positions on moral issues. Around the time Palin became mayor, the church and other conservative Christians began to focus on certain books available in local stores and in the town library. Not long after taking office, Palin raised the issue at a city council meeting of how books might be banned, according to news accounts and a local resident, a Democrat, who was there.
Mayor Palin asked the librarian, "What is your response if I asked you to remove some books from the collection of the Wasilla Public Library?"
The Wasilla librarian, Mary Ellen Edmonds, the then president of the Alaska Library Association, responded with only a short hesitation.
The librarian took a deep breath and said, "The books in the collection were purchased in accordance with national standards and professional guidelines, and I would absolutely not allow you to remove any books from the collection."
A few weeks after the council meeting, the mayor fired the librarian, although she was reinstated after a community uproar.
The Wasilla librarian, Mary Ellen Edmonds, left 2 years later, and according to friends, because it was just too hard working for Sarah Palin. But she acknowledged her treatment by Palin had been very rough. "I just don't care to revisit that time of my life," she told me. Robin?
I'm sure. In response to your story right there, the McCain campaign sent out this 3 pages to us, and they're trying to shoot down as much as they can.
Take books off the shelf. The librarian was offended by that, as were members of the Alaska Library Association, who to this day remain very wary of.
And when it comes to establishing your worldview, I was curious, what newspapers and magazines did you regularly read before you were tapped for this to stay informed and to understand the world?
I've read most of them, again, with a great appreciation for the press, for the media.
But like what one specifically, I'm curious that you...
all of them, any of them that have been in front of me over all these years. I have a vast variety of sources where we get our news too. Alaska isn't a foreign country where it's kind of suggested. It seems like, wow, how could you keep in touch with what the rest of Washington, D.C. may be thinking and doing when you live up there in Alaska? Believe me, Alaska is like a microcosm of America.
Big news in Alaska, but unknown to the rest of the country until Sarah Palin became a national figure. The trooper in Troopergate is the ex-husband of the governor's sister, Mike Wooten. The allegation against the governor, which she denies, is that she wanted Wooten fired and pushed the public safety commissioner to do it.
No, I've never.
The case broke into the open when the trooper's boss, Walter Monaghan, the Alaska public safety commissioner, was fired by the governor.
Fired because of primarily the reason of her former brother-in-law. I think that my unwillingness to take special action against her former brother-in-law was not well received.
And Monaghan says he believes the governor has not told the truth about what happened. Governor's denials began to be challenged with the release of a tape of a telephone call between a member of her staff, Frank Bailey, and a state police official. Bailey asking why the reluctance to fire the brother-in-law.
The Palins can't figure out why nothing's going on. And here's the problem that's going to happen.
It disappoints me. And it's because I expected more from her. I expected so much more. And I just wished it hadn't. You know, none of this gives me either pride or pleasure being involved in this. Because bottom line is, I would like to see the truth, that's all.
That member of Governor Palin's staff heard on the phone call, Frank Bailey, was supposed to testify today before the Senate committee investigating the affair. But his lawyer said Bailey would not show up because the governor's lawyers were preparing to challenge the committee's right to investigate. The committee chairman says it's an obvious delay tactic, blaming the McCain campaign for trying to prevent the committee from releasing its final report on its scheduled date of October 31st.
The McCain campaign has announced, as of tonight, that Governor Sarah Palin will not talk to investigators looking into her firing of Alaska Public Safety Commissioner. Palin had previously promised to cooperate fully. She said she welcomed the investigation initially, but tonight the McCain campaign says that the investigation is tainted by politics. This, even though last week a bipartisan group of lawmakers, including 2 Democrats and 3 Republicans, issued 13 subpoenas, including one for the first dude, Todd Palin.
The Republican legislator who comes from the Wasilla district where Sarah Palin comes from. So, you know, if there's a problem here, maybe she has a problem with her old fellow Republicans down in Wasilla. But by and large, what I found striking today was Sarah Palin was out on the stump, not alongside John McCain, but saying exactly the same things that he was saying about wanting to reform Wall Street and make it more open and accountable.
Criminal defense tactic to try to discredit any investigation.
Palin's account is wrong, and does that mean they're not going to respect the subpoena issued by her own legislature?
Doing this in Alaska have been sort of cutting her a lot of slack. They moved a deadline so it wouldn't be so close to the election. They decided not to subpoena Governor Palin.
You said the report says that you did abuse your authority in trying to get Officer Wooten fired.
Thankfully, the truth was revealed there in that report that showed that there was no unlawful nor unethical activity on my part. So I thank you.
An Alaskan state investigation has found that Sarah Palin unlawfully abused her authority as governor when she fired the state's public safety
$398 million bridge to nowhere.
You know, I support these infrastructure projects that will build Alaska. It's cheaper to do it today than it is tomorrow, and I support our congressional delegation. I told the Congress, thanks, but no.
While they're making those efforts for the state of Alaska to build up our infrastructure, I would not get in the way of progress of this project or other projects.
Alaska got that money, but it was used for other projects.
There's a reason the McCain campaign keeps Governor Sarah Palin away from the press. I want to play an excerpt from an interview that Palin did with the CBS Evening News anchor Katie Couric, where she was asked about the bailout package. Listen to this.
Why isn't it better, Governor Palin, to spend $700 billion helping middle-class families who are struggling with health care, housing, gas, and groceries? Allow them to spend more and put more money into the economy instead of helping these big financial institutions that played a role.
We're ill about this position that we have been put in, where it is the taxpayers looking to bail out. But ultimately, what the bailout does is help those who are concerned about the health care reform that is needed to help shore up our economy, helping the... It's got to be all about job creation, too, shoring up our economy and putting it back on the right track. So healthcare reform and reducing taxes and reining in spending has got to accompany tax reductions and tax relief for Americans. And trade, we've got to see trade as opportunity, not as a competitive, scary thing, but 1 in 5 jobs being created in the trade sector today. We've got to look at that as more opportunity. All those things under the umbrella of job creation. This bailout is a part of that.
Did you get that?
As for that VP talk all the time, I tell you, I still can't answer that question until somebody answers for me. What is it exactly that the VP does?
It's a pretty big job. She's just uniquely and supremely unqualified for the office of which they've selected her to run for, and it's kind of unfair to her.
That's demeaning to women. It's demeaning to women, those comments.
How is it demeaning to women? Please.
It's demeaning to women.
Republican vice presidential hopeful Sarah Palin and her husband Todd say their 17-year-old unmarried daughter is 5 months pregnant. In a brief statement, the announcement came after internet rumors swirled that Sarah Palin's son, who was born in April with Down syndrome, was actually her grandchild. Bloggers suggested that Trig Palin was really Bristol's son and that her mother claimed the child was hers.